the four of you are carrying the mantle for Hindi cinema forward, what do you think our real weak spots are? You know, what is it that troubles you the most?
The herd mentality, I have to say.
About the industry?
Yes.
I have to say.
About our cinema, about what we make.
It's predominantly the herd mentality. There's so
What
many
do you
problems.
mean?
I mean, like one thing works and then there are 20 others of the same thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that one thing that worked, worked for various reasons.
Our
I mean, who
obsession
doesn't know?
with
I mean,
these,
suddenly,
like,
you'll
figures
find
and
20
numbers.
people doing the same thing. And then there are everybody, intelligent actors fall into that, studios, producers. Everybody who has a perspective is bright and you feel they're intelligent, they suddenly become like dumb fools because they're doing the same thing again. I have been a victim of this, I know for a fact.
What do you
when,
mean?
Like, when suddenly, like, you know, you've been told, like, you need to add an item song to get an opening that will hit the ceiling. And I've actually agreed and done it. And I feel stupid
Where?
today.
Item song has become a staple in.
I mean, I've done it. I was told, like, you know, now I know that Agnipath was already kind of a hot film at that time. But I was told at that point we were so vulnerable because the budget had gone haywire that, you know, and there was a situation, you know, in the film where there was a song happening in the background. But it was brought to the surface and brought to the foreground. And I'm sure Karan Malhotra put everything, because he's an outstanding director. I believe in him completely. I'm sure that somewhere he was a little pressurized by me to kind of put that song where it was worked out really well, everything is fine. But I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do that again to anybody, because it was a learning for me. Because that is exactly what I'm criticizing just now, is what I myself did. And not only that, even content, genre, one pot boiler works, 30 pot boilers are being made. One sequel suddenly arrives and everyone wants to sequel everything. I mean, like, you know, I mean, suddenly, like, you want to put
I mean, films that shouldn't have been made in the first place have sequels.
How can you put the 2 number on anything? Like, can you make Oye Lucky, Lucky Oye 2? You can't. Can you make LSD 2? No, of course, in format you can think of it, but why would you? Why would you temple, you know? So you have been offered, haven't you? So similarly, you can't make Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara 2. Now where do they go? Like the boys of
Everyone's
France.
like, aren't you making that next? And I'm like, but they just found themselves. So what are they going to find?
Everyone's rushing back down south and trying to buy rights. Agents are sitting in our industry with like, sir, I have 20 Telugu, 40 Telugu, 40 Tamil,
Are you
30
serious?
Yeah, we want to make this film, we want to make that film. Ye project, this South Indian film director can make it in 55 days, add 4 songs and, you know, it's all set. There are agents who come in position and pitch it. I know this, I'm a producer. And I'm appalled at what's happening.
Yeah, one big lack of things is, like, you know, there's a lot of new filmmakers coming in and they're really making these great films like Ship of Theseus and all those things. There's complete lack of exhibition space for those films. It's one like, even those multiplexes we have, even the smaller screens would not put those films out. And what is happening is, even 1 or 2 people, I think that is one thing that we really need to figure out. We were talking in the car on the way here. We really need to put these films out there.
Because studios,
Even whatever small way, that needs to be done.
exhibition chains
But there are
don't believe.
very few producers that are film buffs. There are very few producers that love movies, that watch movies, that know movies, that understand a good script. Those producers don't exist. So they are the people putting in the money. It's a dhanda. So after a point it gets, and there's no unity. Like, to me, the problem with this industry is like, you make what you want to make. You want to make this, you make it. You want to make that, you make that. As a fraternity, there is no unity.
Why is that?
Because they are just wishing the other person not well.
Yeah, it's terrible. There's a lot of negativity.
You know, there's, and
There's
that
no-
is
if
because
there's
they will not
common love for
progress.
cinema, there will be unity.
There's no common love because they're not there for film.
They're not there for anyone.
They're not there to be, you know, they're there to, for whatever. They're there to make money. They're there to be in page 3. They're there to hang out with the stars. They're there to, they're there for every reason except the fact that we love the movies.
See, we have a serious lack of transparency. We're the only country where 5 different trade magazines will have 5 different trade figures of a movie.
And what is this trade figure every day in the newspaper for the audience to read? What is this?
It's like today, every bacha
Like
on
a
the
So
street.
some of that
Disgusting.
is perpetuated by producers. I mean, I get press releases saying it has done this much over the weekend. It has done, you know. So it is something
Exactly.
that's
and also
actually being
what has happened is the
manufactured.
audience has started now believing in these numbers and reacting to them like it's a game. So it's like, oh, they now start saying, so what are you expecting for your opening weekend? Now this should not be an audience question.
It's a spectator sport.
But it's suddenly become like
No, but it's ridiculous. A Salman Khan film will make that much more than an Aamir. I mean, you're like, what do you care? Do you like the film or not? You know, I mean, the films that I've loved, I have no idea how much money they made. I have no clue. So it's just nasty. And, you know, nothing gets done. You can't get anything done, whether it's a law being passed, whether it's censorship, whether it's
industry becomes
studios
a
being
soft target
overhauled. Like we
because-
want Film City to be overhauled. We want proper bathrooms. We want the floor of the stage to be proper as opposed to dug up. We want new, like nothing gets done because nobody is doing it. Nobody's getting together and saying, you know what, let's not shoot in Film City till they fix it up. Nobody will do it. Or let's not work with this actor because this actor screwed a producer over. Let's not work with him. You cannot behave like that. Nobody does it.
Yeah, the
Oh, he
whole
screwed you
industry
over.
coming
Yay,
together for
I'll go run into
transparency.
him.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
But Zoya, the fact of the matter is, and you know, I want to know how you guys feel about it, that the stars are the real power centers. They're bigger than studios. They're bigger than filmmakers. How does it work then? You know, it's not true in Hollywood. In Hollywood,
That's
a
also
It's
changed.
true in Hollywood to some extent.
no,
No,
to
it's
some
changed
extent,
now. It's
but
changed
but
now.
but it's totally changed because they don't need stars anymore.
But it will change here also.
It's
Anu.
changing.
You think it
It will
will
change
change?
here
change
also.
here.
It will
It will
have
change
to
here.
change.
Because I think they're
And you can
already
see that
getting
already.
there.
We'll start
See,
making those
you
films
can
where the
already
bigger
see.
idea is bigger and you don't need a big star.
You will suddenly
Delhi,
see that
Delhi,
happening because the last of the big superstars in the country are all in their 40s now. And you know, they are mega stars, like that kind of stardom and the baggage of stardom they're carrying, I don't think can be replicated. If you already notice there's a generation where there are 8 newcomers coming in. There are 8 new boys in the film market. Now, how many of those can achieve that kind of legendary status, one doesn't know. So now that's going to happen because as these stars in the 40s go into their 50s and then in their 60s, what they're leaving behind are many, many new actors, many new energies. When there are many new actors and actresses and will come, it's not possible for all of them to become humongous movie stars because there'll be too many of them. That's when films will take over. That's when the content will take over. That's when everything will start changing.
Also, they are much more aware of the fact that they also need directors. The actors are much more aware and conscious of the fact that who are we working with and who's the director and what is. So it is changing. You know, I feel that Indians, the Indian audience, they love stars. They want to look up to people. They want idols. They want that larger than life hero. They want that heroine to copy. So I don't know if that will go away from the audience standpoint. But when it comes to the business and the industry, I think it's going to...
But Zoya, it will go, there'll be so many options.
There'll be so many
Trust
options
me,
that they are going to have to behave to get the work. They're going to have to behave and have to work harder and, you know, create a certain thing to get the work because I think, and the amount of filmmakers that are coming in.
Yeah, and the amount of content that will come. You'll be surprised when I said new age, golden age, I mean it. I mean, we're at the brink of something, we're at the brink of something spectacular, like literally spectacular. Because suddenly there is such an awareness for what is good in cinema. And there is a kind of creative policing that is out there, whether it's through social media or otherwise, that's completely monitoring like hawks about what you're doing. You can't get away and make a crappy film, even if it does the monies. But when it doesn't live in longevity, you're going to know it didn't make and the person who made it is going to feel like, I made this big hit, why aren't you talking about it? They will be talking about, like the year Udaan came out, it did 3 crores of business in the box office. But yet it made all the required noise in all the social media platforms, in the English media platforms. Facebook, Twitter, Orkut were buzzing with how much they loved Udaan. It did only 3 crores net business in India. Film should be remembered for their content. I mean, I'm in the mainstream business. I know how hungry I am to make an Udaan. I know that I would give as many crores if someone told me I would get the acclaim of Udaan. I don't want the money in my bank for what? Where am I going to take it? I don't want to be, as I said it somewhere, I don't want to be the richest person in a graveyard. I mean, I want to be the most remembered person in the graveyard. And that can only be by the films we make.
I want to talk about 1 or 2 ills which we missed out, what we need to take care of.
Absolutely.
Number 1, too many films are chasing too few weekends and an average year. So the weekends can't go up. Okay, what can go up? Cinema halls. It's because we have very less point of sale presence. That is why a number of films are being pushed out by big productions and by big films,
Isn't
because
that happening?
in a situation like that, a
we need more
monopolistic
cinema.
environment
Definitely need.
thrives. So we need more cinema halls.
And there's something called artificial business. You see, because there's so many screens given to one particular film, those numbers are escalated for no reason. Actually,
not
they
a
don't
per-screen
deserve
average.
those numbers. They don't deserve those numbers. They're just doing because there's no other film released in that same zone. Whereas a more deserving, tinier film doesn't get the screens at all.
Which
Because it
needs
gets
some
thrown out.
time to go through because it doesn't have too much marketing muscle.
Like
Now,
the West does that very well. You know, they have
Because
so
in
much
5, 7
exhibition.
years,
They
like
structure
Satya
it
wouldn't
in
have
a way.
survived today. Satya wouldn't have survived today. It would have been thrown out the second weekend.
because it took some time to climb,
No,
right?
no,
Yeah,
no.
too.
Satya would have survived a little more today than it did then. It was thrown out then.
No, no, it is, today
So
it
there-
would have
there
completely
we
been
are.
thrown out if there was a big film.
I mean, it's so strange. I mean, how things have reversed.
it 10th
It was the
day
year of
picked
Kuch
up.
Kuch Hota Hai and Satya, and Kuch Kuch Hota Hai was the award-winning film. Today, it would have totally been the other way around. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, I would have been the criticized commercial film, and Satya would have been the reverential, brilliant film, which is true. It was. It truly was. It is a way superior film to Kuch Kuch Hota Hai in every department. But today, it would be acknowledged. It wasn't like that in 1998. Thank God.
Ill number two.
Ill number two.
Ill number two is that we all accept that cinema is a technical medium.
Yeah.
All four of us could be here, but you know your audience will get jack shit because without the camera, without the light, without the stage, without the floor, you won't get it. If it's a technical medium, our technicians are the most ignored, the least paid, and more or less pretty exploited lot. We need to pay them more money so that they do better work. One of the reasons why Indian films look shoddy and badly crafted in comparison to even the lowest common denominator of films from the rest of the world is because, like everything else, we don't respect labor. And we don't, and in this case, I mean technical labor. So that needs to go up so that the next 100 years, we have better made films.
So that they're not having to do 5 films to survive.
Absolutely.
They do one film and,
they
the
nurture
focus,
it.
and yeah, you can prep for 3-4 months on that movie, just work on that movie. It's not ad hoc.
Absolutely.
You know, and the quality is going to go up, and they deserve it.
But all of you are hopeful.
Yes,
all
very,
of you
very. I'm-
are seeing great things.
No, it's
I
an
would,
event.
I would hold
it's not
on to
even
my
hope.
positive.
I don't even
pessimism.
hope. I think it's an eventuality.
Positive
I'm
pessimism.
telling you mathematically, it's going to
It
happen.
is going
it's
to be
going to
there.
happen. There is no. I'm not conjecturing. It's going to happen.
Ill number 3, I've got.
He's with the-
Because,
He's like she's a
becau-
teacher.
because yours is a show. So, okay, we are a Hindi film industry. The creme de la creme of the Hindi film industry, which puts out films which are nice to look at and nice to see and nice to go back to, whatever, talk, read, and work in English. As a result of this, Hindi writers who have written stories or books or articles have no way of expressing themselves to directors like us because they think that to cut through the tyranny of English, they'll need to speak in English and they'll need to send us a script. And I'm speaking directly from the horse's mouth, that's me. We are losing out on a lot of stories because of the elitism and the tyranny of English on the Hindi film industry.
Zoya, last word to you. What do you want to see happen in the next 5 years?
I want to see Indian films, films being made that will reach a wider audience than just the diaspora, just the NRI. I want to see films that, I mean, a space for filmmakers that can tell stories that needn't be concerned with catering to just the Indian market and the Indian palate. And I would like those kind of films to be able to be made because we have many stories, and I think the world is starved to watch them and find a way to do that. And I think every time you kind of express that in the industry, they're like, we don't need the West to tell. I mean, what does that mean? Like, if I'm an athlete, at some point I want to run in the Olympics. You know, like we need to get onto that world stage. We need to be able to compete, to cater to, and we will increase our business twice-fold. So hopefully, distribution, producers of a particular mind will start focusing on that and trying to see how we can break that barrier because we have tons of filmmakers that can do that. That's what I think.
Well, all best for Bombay Talkies.
Thank you.
Thank
We hope to
you.
see you there.